Ciao a tutti, it's Aram and we're finally gonna get through round 6. This is only 5 matches of a Championship 23, so remember to subscribe and let's go. This is, I think, the first time I remember to say that in a year. Anyways, we have a Georgia mirror match, Georgia hands mirror match, Indicat versus Celsius, both great players. We see Indicat with a much better opening hand though. Celsius, until he drew Gear just now, was a pretty shit hand, frankly. Gear even with a bad hand can kind of bluff their way sometimes. But Gear is certainly pivotal. And that far hand is gonna do some nice damage, but at the end of the day, no back rows. And so yeah. But it's still gonna stall for a while. Nikat's gonna summon a bunch of Gear Texes. What else is new? It's kind of hard to make Gear mirror match gameplay exciting, especially when I'm not a Gear player myself. I can play the deck. I just want to do something better with my time. Almost got there with the Exiton, but set was breakthrough skill. But even besides that, there was a lot of stuff that needed to go right for him, for Celsius to win, I think. Oh, actually, Indicat had only Accelerator in hand, so versus enemies will probably be fine. Anyways, Celsius resolves a huge Dark Hole. And Telenet Flashback, Wiretap Wars, the sequel to the Solemn Judgment Wars. Anyways, it's kind of weird that Celsius has Maxi in versus Georgia on game 2. You'd think he'd set it out. I don't know. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I generally just side out fucking hell, the Blackhorns. Jesus. No, yeah, I generally just side out Maxi versus Georgia. Like all 3 copies, and I don't want him. But I don't know how many Crows he's maining. I don't know how many Georgia answers he's siding. Oof. Nasty Acid Golem. But Acid Golem always can backfire sometimes. But here we see Indicat living on the edge, pretty much. And yeah, that's gonna do it. And on to game 3, we have Indicat opening first with a decent opening hand, and Celsius with fine opening hand. He drew a second dead gear. That's unfortunate, but he's playing Legusta Emerald, so he might still be able to resolve it. Yeah. And he drew another fucking gear. And he can't resolve it unless the Legusta Emerald survives. And it doesn't resolve. Sad gear moments, but he's gonna set it as a bait. Still with the Maxi. Maxi isn't terrible versus Gear. It's mainly really good versus Gear, but I don't know what his side deck pattern what his side deck pattern is, but I am very curious to know what it is. I think side patterns are just very interesting in general. Anyway, it's interesting to see Indica not set his armor. As a when I'm playing at, obviously they pretty much always set it because if they don't, I can just moral attack. It's interesting to see for Gyria's, depending on the matchup, they set the armor or not. I'm curious to see about Mermals because Mermals can out armor regardless. You just have to send infantry instead of marksman. Anyways, now we have extra power versus same Posteno, which should be Mermal versus Spellbooks, right? Yep. Simo opens with a very strong hand, so yeah, I think yeah. It's interesting he didn't go for a field. He could have summoned the priestess. Interesting that he chose not to. It makes sense because he has he would if he set both fate and activated tower, then he would have no more 3 targets for the second priestess that he would search. But still, it's kind of weird. I guess like what's the worst they could do? Make Jurgen attacks and you just beat them over. If they make armor, you can just fate it on your turn, and it's fine. It's probably fine, especially since he has wisdom in hand. So we see extra power with the Night Beam tech, and the Twister too. Hold up. What is Twister for in Yugias? Abysphere? Tower. I guess tower. It's like Twister. It has a decent amount of targets. It's just that Yugia is not a deck that gets floodgated out, so it's I don't know. Seems like a weird choice to me to side deck Twister in Yugias. That's all I'm saying. Twister as a whole, it's a fine side deck card in the format, but for Mermas and Mythics and Bujins and decks that get floodgated out easily, which is not Yugias. It's for skill drain, but even then, I don't know. Fate to book his blue boy and search regardless is hilarious. Gotta say. So cute boss with power that is a play. So anyways, next up we have Yamaro versus Raminator. Raminator on Hat, Yammer on Gyugias. See Yom playing Compulse, it's interesting. And Ram is main decking Wiretap, which, if I topped, I would have done like a 50-minute video on on Cat, and frankly, probably the correct 40th slot would have been a Wiretap. Which is weird because that's not something that At is known for playing, but at the same time, I think the fact that Raminator main deck Wiretapped, which is kind of weird, and the fact that he topped, I think they're related. Especially since like in this event, Gyugias tended to main deck 3 breakthrough skill, which is fucking horrible for Cat. Not as much for Hat. Het was definitely a better meta call. Fuck, I missed the entire replay. I was so busy talking, I missed the replay, and it's interesting because Het won a game versus Girgen, and I want to see it, and so. Sorry, I'm gonna replay it. Fast forward a bit if you don't want to. Let's see, we see opening Duality into Call of the Haunted. He has Sanctum in hand, he has Ice and Torrential Wiretap and Dark Hole. Yum opens Accelerator, doesn't want to play into Double Cyclone, so he doesn't set his back rows, which is kind of weird because, he has Breaker skill. You'll think he'll do that, but, at the same time, 5 back rows. Understandable. One of them is likely Ignition or Double Cyclone, but, still. I will just set him myself because, Breaker skill. That's a good card to get MST away. Anyways, we see Yum playing very aggressively, which is what he should do in this matchup. See Zenmayo coming in, and as usual, Zenmayo is just gonna get hit by any fucking back row. Why I don't run Zenmayo? Yeah, interesting. Game 2, JimAR goes first. He has Gyugi Armor, set 5, versus Ram with set 5 pass, which, it's, as Wiretap, Ignition, Big Attack, another Wiretap, and a Moral Attack, I think. And it's a fine hand, but this is just unfair. Yeah, I think it was overall the best choice to keep Blackhorn in hand. Either that or the Moral Attack would have been the best card to not set. In this matchup you want to play aggressively, so it makes sense to set the Moral Attack. Try and hit the XYZs, and then turn 5 or 6 you hit the XYZs with Blackhorn. Anyways, see him playing very aggressively and gets Darkhold, punished heavily for it. Does he have Call of the Haunted? No, he doesn't. He has Sanctum, TDHM Breakthrough, and the bank. Interesting that Breakthrough skill stayed in this match, especially since he sided in the banks. Like, kind of curious to see what he sides, because Breakthrough skill is not it's not particularly strong versus Gilgias. It's fine, but it's an easy card to side out in my opinion. Kind of why I didn't play Breaker skill in the main deck, actually. I didn't want to draw it. And, yeah, hands. It makes sense why Dimensional Fissure is in here, hands. But keep in mind that they don't affect artifacts much, so Macro and Soul Drain are a lot better. I'm putting in work, and aggressive play is the way. Especially since he has Wiretap. Maybe that's what I should have sided more of. I didn't side Wiretap, and I wanted more cards to side versus Gilgias. And Wiretap would have been a good card as like a 7th, no, sorry, an 8th and above card to side in versus Gilgias. Because frankly, I would side 15 cards for Gilgias if I could. The thing is, like, there's not enough direct answers. So there's there's Blackhorn, there's Nobleman, there's Acid Trample, there's Mind Control. Then what? You could side more TDH, but you don't really want to search it necessarily, or they're just gonna play around it. There's fucking Heraldry Record, which is just much worse Blackhorn and worse TTHN. There's Wiretap, I guess. That's the next best thing, probably. You know, something to learn. Yeah. AirF versus JimAR. You know, that match was interesting to me because you know how it went. You've seen the other rounds probably. Judging by my viewership numbers, I assume you did. Because this shit is not retaining viewers. But this is the second to last episode and it's fine. And I didn't expect the first round to even get that many views, so it's kind of a public service more than for views. But yeah, by the fact that Falco did not make top cut, I'm gonna assume that James wins this. Also the deck is better. Anyways, I was distracted. He's yeah, Falco's meaning the bug. Makes sense. Makes total sense. It's you're playing counter fairies, I guess. So you want the best counter traps, and the bank is not much of a main deck card. It's more of a side deck card, but that's mainly because of hand traps. And the more and more people main deck hand traps, the more and more the bank is kind of fine to side deck, to main deck. Thus far I've only ever main decked it in Fire Fists, and it was just something I tried for a bit, because the deck cannot play versus artifacts, versus hands. So I wanted the Bank Skullmeister in that, even in the main deck. But yeah, it's definitely one of the strongest cards in the format. But for now it's only really a side deck card. It's interesting to. I think right now we've entered the age of main deck DD Crow. It will be interesting to see if we enter the age of main deck Debunk to counteract the age of main deck DD Crow. That would be funny. It's like the monkey, like DD Crow is alive versus pretty much every deck, even more so than Crow. At least versus Girya hands. Versus Germeleo, it's fucking abysmal. But hey ho, you can't win them all. But besides Girya without hands, the bank is live versus every deck. Like every deck. Just gotta even versus Girya without hands, chances are they are main decking hand traps. So even then it's fine. The main thing is that it's not as good as Crow going second, obviously. But, yeah, maybe we'll see. Anyways, I was dozing off again. I think we're 1-1 somehow. Yeah. I don't know how Falco won game 2. And frankly, I can't be bothered to check. Tell me in the comments how Falco won game 2. Sorry, this is turning into a podcast with the matches in the background. But frankly, I'm enjoying this a lot more because I don't have to commentate over the replays. This is Molson versus Ultraplant. I think Molson is gonna win this, simply by the fact that I don't think Spellbooks can win versus Gravekeepers unless Gravekeepers break, which can happen. Can totally happen. It's not the pinnacle of consistency, to be honest. The Gravekeepers can clog, definitely. But we see that Molson is main decking Void Trample, which is interesting, and versus Spellbooks, Void is a lot better than TTHN. I mean, not like that matters much. No. Ironically, even versus Gravekeepers, the bank does have a use case that is Gravekeeper's Commandant. And if they don't have Necro Valley Descendant and artifacts, but mainly Commandant. Even if they have Necro Valley, you can just debunk that. Anyways, we see Spellbooks going first after losing him one, predictably. I'm not sure why Molson has Shaman in, even in game 2. Does it make it so they cannot activate another spell or something? I don't think so. I was looking at Closed Forest as a counter to Spellbooks, to Gravekeepers. Yeah, I think it should get over Shaman. For a turn, at least. Thanks to the lucky MST, Tower stayed alive for a little bit, but thanks to an unlucky MST, it didn't stay for too long. Lucky for Plant, he didn't have to use risk having to use Wisdom on the first Priestess, so he could summon the second one. It's fine. But I don't think that was a very strong play to power Priestess when they can just summon a fucking artifact and destroy it, and you go -2 or -3 actually. It's kinda one of the. That's also one of the reasons why artifacts are so strong versus spellbooks. Spellbooks don't like battle traps. They stop power, especially battle traps that are monsters, and artifacts are battle traps that are monsters. Except they're not battle traps; they're chainables. So yeah. But yeah, that's it for me. Leave a like, join the Discord, subscribe, leave a comment, ring the bell. Join the next tournaments. And goodbye.